In 2018, a flurry of Google Earth photos revealed what many took to be a 50-metre-long UFO on the Antarctic island of South Georgia. The object appeared to have slid some distance through the snow and ice after crashing into a mountain. Join us on Aliens Explored as we investigate whether it was indeed an extraterrestrial craft that had catastrophically failed to complete its return to its hollow Earth lair, or simply an odd natural phenomenon sometimes caused by landslides. This episode is dedicated to Israel, our Explorer of the Week. Israel is a subscriber to our Patreon, which gives him access to all kinds of rewards and provides us with the means to keep doing what we do. Check out our Patreon to see which level suits you.
Aliens Explored is a weekly podcast exploring famous and obscure cases of UFO sightings, alien abductions and other strange events from both a believing and a sceptical perspective, whilst keeping an open mind. I'm Stu Jackson, a professional actor and amateur ufologist with a particular interest in the crop circle phenomenon. I'll be debating that otherworldly visitations are real. The truth is out there.
And I'm Neil Kelly. I'm a professional actor as well and used to work for the military as an intelligence analyst. I'll be arguing from a more doubtful point of view. I mean, it's all a bit far-fetched, isn't it?
Welcome back, listeners, to Aliens Explored, your weekly podcast where we look at UFOs up in the skies above us and down beneath the depths of the sea and crashed into mountains. What's that? I'm one of your hosts, Stu Jackson.
And I'm your other host, Neil Kelly.
I'm straight in there with it. How are you keeping,
yeah,
Neil?
Well, I'm very well, thank you.
Good,
doing well. I'm healthy, at least.
Oh, that's one up from me.
I've even earned a bit of money recently. So,
have you? That's unusual for an actor.
It is, isn't it?
Have you earned some money? Did you do a plumbing job on the side?
No, I didn't. I've done a couple of student films and a couple of other bits and bobs. I did, and against my better judgment, earlier this week, Monday and Tuesday, I did some background work on a Bollywood movie.
Ah, you and I have both occasionally done this, haven't we?
We have, but
inadvisable sometimes. Not always.
The excitement came when we were filming outside the Ministry of Defence in London, and it turned out we didn't have proper permission.
For the love of God.
this guy in a high-vis jacket suddenly came running over and said, "We got to get out of here. Armed police are on their way." And then he went off, and I was thinking, well, who's in charge here? I thought he was the director. And then the guy who was the director said, "Right, we've just got time for one take, so everybody ready?" And we all got ready, and we were waiting for these cars to come and park up so we could sort of open the doors and let these dignitaries out, played by actors and extras. And suddenly the guy in the high-vis jacket came running and said, "Why are you still fucking here? Get out of here!" Right. And then we could hear the sirens all around us as we ran back across the street. And actually, I detached myself from the main crowd where they had all the tripods and everything set up. I moved and stood by a couple of what looked like squaddies stood by the war memorials. I thought I'll just blend in with them in case guns start getting waved around and people start getting handcuffed. So that's Bollywood for you.
Oh my goodness! I mean, yeah, we at least you've got a good story to tell.
Yeah, I'll dine out on that one for years. There's a lot more detail to it, but
I'll look forward to that off air. Usually with Bollywood, the key thing is are you going to get paid?
They have a terrible reputation for either taking a very long time to pay you, or for not paying you at all. And I'd recently done my first Bollywood, And then I was on another job, and there was a guy there who happened to be Indian. He was a doctor, a medical doctor, and he said, "Oh yeah, in India, Bollywood, it's all funded by organised crime and money laundering, and they have huge political power because politicians want to be associated with Bollywood celebrities. It's a really big, it's a really big thing."
Well, I mean, I know myself that not all Bollywood productions. I think it's important to clarify this point.
Yeah,
Some
not all Bollywood
very
productions.
legitimate, but no, I've known of numerous Bollywood productions that will do a film shoot in London or parts of the UK, and then as soon as they've called, right, that's a wrap, they pack up all their kit, they fly back to India, and of course, because it's a different country, that you just never hear from them again, and they won't pay anybody.
Yeah.
That's quite a regular thing. But you do tend to get fed very well.
There's that, yeah. Especially if you like curry. Yeah.
The food is usually of a very high quality.
Yeah, there is that.
Touch wood, my experience of Bollywood has been okay. I've steered clear of some of the more notorious productions, but definitely a good story. Fantastic. I can't compete with that at all. I'm just sat here with my Bovril.
So yes, I've been chased away by armed police this week. But
oh, crikey. Well, we'd better move on to something far less contentious and indeed. So back in 2018, early part of March, a YouTube channel by the name of Secure Team 10, who are a UFO expose channel, they released a video taken from Google Earth of this island in Antarctica, South Georgia Island.
South Georgia. So for our American listeners, not to be confused with Georgia in the United States,
which I almost did last week.
Yes, and
with Brittany.
Yes, and for those of you listening from former Soviet Central Asia, it's not that Georgia either. It's a tiny little island in the South Atlantic, virtually in Antarctica, isn't it?
It is Antarctica. Well, it was part of Antarctica that's basically broken away. That's my understanding of it. It also called the Sandwich Isles. Is that? I've heard that.
No, I don't know. I don't know if it's the same place. I know what South Georgia is famous for is any of you have heard of Mutiny on the Bounty, when the crew finally mutinied against their martinet Captain Bligh, and put him and a few of his retainers into an open boat and just set them adrift in the middle of the ocean. Well, it turned out that Captain Bligh might have been a harsh disciplinarian, but he was a top class sailor, and he navigated this open boat over 1,000 miles. I can't remember the exact distance. It remains the longest journey ever. He still holds the record for this journey in an open boat, which was, I think, end of the 18th century, beginning of the 19th century. And eventually they fetched up in South Georgia.
Okay. So South Georgia's famous for two things then: Captain Bligh and this UFO.
Well, it was also the trigger for the Falklands War back in 1982, when some Argentinian scrap dealers. Well, first of all, the British government decided their commitment to defending their territory in the South Atlantic wasn't as much as previously. They scrapped this ship called the Atlantic Conveyor, which was their defence down there. And soon afterwards, a bunch of Argentinian scrap merchants arrived on South Georgia and started dismantling a whaling station. So the British government issued an order to the Argentinian government, of the military junta of General Galtieri, saying cease and desist. General Galtieri's government said, we don't know anything about it. So the British government said, well, you do cease and desist or else. So General Galtieri, who was having an awful lot of problems at home, decided, I know what will be a great distraction, a foreign war. So he invaded the Falkland Islands, which Many people were surprised when they first heard it because they sort of thought they were somewhere near the Orkneys or the Faroe Islands off the coast of Britain. But no, they're way down the South Atlantic off the coast of Argentina. And that was a great distraction. Unfortunately for him, British leader Margaret Thatcher also needed a distraction, which she thought a foreign war would suit well. So we had the Falklands War, in which over 1,000 people died. And it was only many years later when it was discovered that when the Argentine government said they didn't know anything about these scrap metal dealers dismantling the whaling station, they were actually telling the truth. These dealers had been employed by a British company. So if you or your loved ones have lost lives or limbs in the Falklands War, it was all a big misunderstanding.
I wonder how many other wars were over misunderstandings as well. But
Yes.
Well, that's interesting for the island. That's not what we're here to talk about. So yes, everyone take a
breath.
Digression drink.
Yes.
In fact, I was hearing a story from Ed. So this week, as we're recording it, Ed is a regular listener, and he was saying he was walking to work at 3 a.m. listening to an episode and calls out quite loudly as he's got his headphones on, "Oh, digression drink." To some bewildered looks around him, no doubt.
Well, take another sip because we'll try and stay on topic. So this UFO crash on the island of South Georgia.
Yes. So the footage that was shown, like I say, this came to light in March 2018, but they believe that the footage was actually taken in 2011 from a Google satellite, the Google imagery. So you've got this, basically this mountain on South Georgia, Mount Paget. You've got what looks like a lot of disturbance from it, and then heading away from it for a long distance, you've got this big, long trail carved into the, I want to say snow, but it's actually ice, isn't it?
I say it does look like
snow
snow.
and ice.
It does look like there's deep snow there, doesn't it? It looks like it's cut a deep path, well, a sort of trail through it.
But into the frozen water, and it's traveled for a long way, and it's this object, this long cylindrical object that's just there, stationary.
Well, it looks different shapes because I've seen a picture where it looks like this perfect disc hidden.
That's a different.
That's a different one.
That's a different one, which we might talk about on a future episode. So the disc one, ignore for now.
Okay.
Although it's worth mentioning that actually because it shows a repeated event.
It does. And enter our old friend, a familiar name to our listeners, Scott C. Waring. Remember him? He's the guy who spotted the cloaked B-1 bomber on Google Earth. He also spotted this crashed UFO in Antarctica. And all cred to Scott C. Waring. If you're listening, Scott, we'd love to hear from you. On the basis of this sighting, Scott C. Waring made an application to Donald Trump and said, "Will you make me head of NASA?" And got to be worth a punt, hasn't it? Because with the Donald, who knows what he might or might not agree to if you catch him in the right mood.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, you gotta admire that. I mean, yeah, probably a good job he wasn't made head of NASA, I would say, on the basis of that. No disrespect, Scott. I'm sure you find it many things, but that's.
I hope Scott is listening. I read a story. In the Sun newspaper online. I didn't go and buy it.
Newspaper in inverted commas because they make up a lot of shit.
Well, for our American listeners, it's a Murdoch rag. It's a lowest common denominator, conservative right-wing rag aimed at semi-literate people, I would say, who are going to vote conservative. It's extremely censorious and moralistic, It used to be it used to be known for its. I mean, we used to love it when we were at school. We'd always get it on the bus because it featured its famous page 3. Page 3, there would always be a large picture of a topless model. In those days, black and white, but gradually moved into colour. The page 3 stunner, the page 3 stunner, I should say. And of course, what we used to say about the Sun was, "Tits sell it and buy it."
I'm going to have to edit that out, you realise.
Really?
Yes. We don't
You guys
use that
just put
word. We don't use that word on the show.
Right. But according to the Sun, UFO expert Scott C. Waring has suddenly shut down his site and claiming that UFO sightings weren't being taken seriously, that his sightings were being used as entertainment, which was never his intention. So he's gone off in a bit of a huff. But Scott, if you're listening, we'd love to hear from you.
Yes,
I would anyway. Would you?
I would very much like to hear from Scott. So, if that's true, and I'm saying if because it's the Sun, they tell a lot of lies, and they just make stuff up.
They push a certain agenda, don't they, on behalf of the Murdoch Corporation, the oligarchy.
If it is true that Scott has shut it down because the entertainment, I would actually reach out to Scott and say, if people are looking at these things and reading about them for entertainment value, that's not a bad thing because they are getting educated, albeit through entertainment. So yeah, I would ask him to reconsider if that's his reason, but it might be a completely different reason anyway.
No, I agree with you absolutely that a good way of teaching people things is through entertainment.
Yes. So that's the disc one. We're not talking about that today.
That's what we're not talking about. I think we've covered it now.
Oh no, we can talk about that one at length another time.
Okay.
But,
so what we're talking about is the landslide, basically.
Well, I've heard this thing. Well, go on. Do you want to put forward that counter argument as to what it might be then?
Well, a chap called Richard Waller, who's a senior lecturer in physical geography at Keele University in the UK, for some reason decided to tell the Daily Mail this, but he said that what the photo actually depicts is an avalanche that where one large block of ice or rock rolled much further than the rest of the collapsed snow. And of course, when it's on ice or snow, even something that isn't round can travel a long way. Even this one isn't round; it's long and thin.
That is true. However, the rest of the sort of disturbance that is clearly there. For one thing, it's on top of the trail. So the avalanche, as it were, came down after the trail was formed because it covers the trail.
No, I don't think that is what we're saying. I think what we've seen is an avalanche where it's all sort of landed at the bottom of this mountain, but then one large rock, and this can happen, apparently, has kept going. Its own momentum has kept it going. Apparently, something like that can travel up to 5 miles.
Well, this did travel a mile. The track itself is a mile long. However, it is the only idea. The rest of it, travel 20 meters. Yeah,
that can happen. You just get one large bit that goes much, much further than all the rest that just breaks up.
And also, you're saying a rock. Now, this rock, to give its dimensions, it is 40 foot high and 30 foot wide, but it is 200 feet long.
Yeah, so it's a huge block of ice.
It's massively long.
When that's got some momentum behind it, that's going to go a long way.
It is, but
on a slippery surface.
If this has fallen off a mountain, it's going to break into pieces. Something that long, it's not a stable structure for falling off a mountain.
It's not, but I imagine there were lots of other bits like it that did break up into pieces, and maybe it just glided over them.
I'm not convinced.
And then what did it do? Did it just sort of sink into the snow and disappear, i.e., melt?
Well,
or is it still there?
That's very interesting because earlier today I had a look. So for anyone who's interested and does the whole Google Earth thing, I'll give you the coordinates right now. This was detected at 54 degrees, 39 minutes, 44.62 seconds south by 36 degrees, 11 minutes, 42.47 seconds west. I will put that in the description for this podcast as well. However, I can tell you I had a look today and it's not there. The track is not there. But then if the image was taken in 2011, you get snow drifts. Things are going to get covered up. In more ways than one, perhaps, if the governments are involved. But yeah, it would naturally get covered up by the snow anyway. But I think, if this was a UFO, the governments would have been in there and had it away anyway.
So, when exactly was this spotted?
I don't know what date they actually found it. All I know is that it was the YouTube video from Secure Team 10 came out on March the 4th, 2018. Now, I can find no reference to this prior to that at all. So they seem to be the people who've broken the news on it. But they do say, and presumably there is a way of finding out about it. I honestly don't know myself. But the images, the Google images that they were looking at were taken in 2011.
Okay.
So that's 11 years ago.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is Southern Hemisphere, so March would be sort of end of the summer down there.
Well, yeah, but we wouldn't know when in 2011 the image was taken.
No, but as I say, they're going to be, because of where it is, they do get the seasons down. They're not just buried in snow all the time. So when it's winter in here, it's going to be summer down there. That's when snow and ice is going to be melting. And that's when things are going to fall off mountains and melt or get covered up in the winter that follows.
Well, because Google imagery, that's a static image. We don't know how long it had been there. It might have been there for a couple of years before Google took its image anyway. Or it might have been seconds before.
Yeah,
there is no way of knowing.
I mean, the object might have lasted, but I don't think the trail that it left as it moved would have lasted very long at all.
No, I'm inclined to agree. I am inclined to agree. It looks to me like the trail had some coverage already happening anyway.
But it wouldn't have lasted a winter.
No, I imagine not. But like I say, also, if the American government or the UK government or some government somewhere in the world has gone in and taken the actual object itself, there'd be absolutely no trace of it ever again.
Well, Britain does maintain a military presence down there. Maybe.
There we go. And do you know what? I know we've talked previously on episodes about, or made mention at least, of cigar-shaped UFOs, which this does put me very much in mind of. What it really, looking at this image, do you know what it really, really reminded me of? Was a Muamua.
Okay, yeah.
Do you remember when we talked about the asteroid that made the course correction coming through the solar system?
And accelerated away with no apparent...
Yeah. It really made me think of a Muamua.
Although this would be much smaller. It's how big is a Muamua?
I don't... Off the top of my head, I don't know. I don't normally go onto Google while we're mid-episode, but I'm going to, on this occasion... Oumuamua
Because our listeners need to know.
dimensions.
They need to be right. They don't want to have to go back to Oumuamua and.
Okay, so according to Wikipedia, which is not always accurate, Oumuamua is a small object estimated to be between 100 and 1,000 meters long, or 300 to 3,000 feet. So
that's quite a variance, isn't it?
that is a hell of a variance. But you are looking at something quite a distance away, I suppose. So Oumuamua, at its smallest possible dimension, wouldn't actually be that much bigger. And you think if something did sort of come through the atmosphere and burnt up on re-entry, it'd get a lot smaller. The asteroids get much, much smaller, for example. Now, if this was a craft, though, that would be, you'd think that they'd have a way of avoiding that.
Wouldn't an asteroid that size colliding with our planet cause a massive explosion that we would know about?
Oh, undoubtedly an asteroid would, yes. But a craft crashing into the side of a mountain and sliding down?
A craft that can actually decelerate and gently land, yeah. An asteroid hitting us at 100,000 miles an hour, that would make a hole, wouldn't it? That's like shooting a football with a 9mm bullet.
What else is 200 feet long, I'm wondering? I'm thinking aircraft size. You're
thinking a fuselage of a transport plane or something?
So a Boeing 727... Boeing 757 is probably a better example. 155 feet.
What about a military transport like a Galaxy, an American Galaxy? They're huge things, aren't they? They are transporting tanks.
They are, but yeah. So we're looking a little bit bigger than a passenger aircraft. I'm thinking of things that people like our listeners can relate to. So if you think your average plane that you get on to go on your holidays to Barbados in, a bit bigger than that.
A Galaxy, the C5M Super Galaxy aircraft, is 75.53 meters long and just shy of 20 meters high.
Okay, 75 meters long. That's so 200 feet is, I believe, just over 63 meters. So it's going to be a little bit shy of that. So
a bit smaller than a Galaxy US transport aircraft.
There you go. So there we have that. So it's a big old thing. It is shaped like a lot of UFOs are. It's moved away from all the other detritus that has come down the mountain. The escarpment, is that the correct term?
I don't know, actually.
I've heard that word somewhere to do with avalanches.
Anyone who got their O-level geography will be able to tell us if that's an escarpment or not.
It's quite an interesting image. I mean, there's images of it all over the internet. So if you pop it South Georgia UFO crash into Google, you should find lots of images there. So let's summarize then, Neil. Have I convinced you? Is it a UFO?
Well, when I Googled the South Georgia UFO crash, the first thing I found was a livescience.com page with the headline, "This weird Google Earth picture does not show a crashed UFO." And I'm inclined to agree, I'm afraid.
You don't think there might be an agenda?
Why do these UFOs keep crashing?
Well, I would say they don't keep crashing. I would say it's rare for them to crash. There's just a lot of them.
There'd have to be an awful lot. If you flew on a commercial airliner every day, you would be involved in a major crash once every, I think it's something like 10,000 years. They're that rare. So there's an awful lot of UFOs out there crashing. They seem to crash more often than our commercial aircraft.
We don't know how many more there are, though.
We don't.
That's the key thing. We don't know what anti-UFO weaponry exists. There's certainly been plenty of rumours about it.
Are there? I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. I mean, when Donald Trump announced Space Force, I think he was really talking about the militarization of space, of high altitudes, in order to be able to wage war against terrestrial enemies such as Russia and China. I don't think he was talking about defending the planet from an extraterrestrial force that would likely be hundreds, if not thousands of years more technologically advanced than us. It would be like pygmies in the Amazon trying to fend off a B-1 bomber.
Yeah, I don't put anything past anybody. So your take is that this spire of ice fell nearly 10,000 feet down a mountainside, survived that impact, then slid over a mile away.
Yeah.
Okay.
That happens. That happens a lot.
Why don't we see the evidence of it then?
And who knows that it isn't? I mean, it could be several rocks all just rolled in a line, couldn't it? They just the way that they came down the mountain, they were channeled into a gully, and they all went along the same route, like
one big rock, and then lots of others following behind.
Yeah,
like ducklings.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an image to take away. I remain convinced that this is something unusual. Something unusual. I'm not gonna stick a stake in the ground and say that's an alien spacecraft. I'm gonna say there's something more going on with this. But what do you think, listeners? You can let us know via the usual means. You can email us, aliensexplored@gmail.com. You can get in touch with us through Facebook and through Twitter by searching Aliens Explored. Or if you are one of our Patreon patrons, you can get access to our exclusive Discord server and chat with like-minded people, as well as us, about this and any of the subjects we discuss here on the show. We do love hearing what you think about things, don't we, Neil? We do. We love it. We can't get enough. Absolutely. So, yeah, do get in touch. So, next time's a good one. We are going to be talking about the 1989 and 90 Belgium UFO wave that struck. Lots and lots of UFOs, from one to lots. There we go. So look forward to that. Look forward to, absolutely. In the meantime, keep watching those Google Earth images, because you never know what you're going to find. And of course, keep watching this. That one's aimed at you, Scott. I hope you haven't given up entirely. Absolutely, do get in touch, Scott. Yeah. So, take care for now. Catch you next time. Bye-bye. Bye.
Aliens Explored is a Figo Films production in association with Juicy Fomes. Music by Darren Mafucci and editing by Stu Jackson. Find us on Twitter and Facebook by searching Aliens Explored or visit aliensexplored.com.